As we all know, the WGA and the AMPTP reached a tentative agreement over the weekend, and we finally have details on it. But most importantly, we have finally announced the proper end of the strike. The WGA reached a tentative agreement with the AMPTP. Today, our negotiating committee, WGAW Board, and WGA Council all voted unanimously to recommend the agreement. Strike ends at 12:01 a.m. Check out our deal, and we will be checking that out, but that was September 26th. So as of September 27th, the writers' strike is over. So writers can go back to work. Now, SAG-AFTRA, they're still on strike. But before we get into that, I want to talk about, this has been a really long strike for them. This was a 146-day strike. Things are hard. A lot of people had to go and find other jobs. But there are people in Hollywood who have means and have been using that to help other people out. And one story that I noticed that got picked up was, apparently Drew Carey has been paying the tab for breakfast and lunches for striking WGA members for months now. I don't know where this article came from, but at noon on day 143 of the Hollywood writers' strike, with the deal perhaps in the works, the phrase of the day at Bob's Big Boy in Burbank is cautiously optimistic. The diner, a comforting 1950s-style time capsule, has been an unofficial watering hole for scribes on strike all summer. Beloved comedian Drew Carey continues to bankroll breakfasts and lunches for Writers Guild of America members, a restaurant tab that grows by about 10 grand each week and now stands at an impressive 400 to 600K. Bob's marketing manager, Patrick tells me Carey is similarly picking up the tag at Swinger's Coffee Shop. $10,000 a week Drew Carey has been paying writers to go and eat for free while they're picketing. Now, Drew Carey, I've got some issues with him, like, politically he's weird. I think he's a libertarian, but this is a stand-up act. This is the kind of thing that the richer people in Hollywood can do to have solidarity with other people in the community. This is awesome. And like, meals are one thing, but like, meals are kind of a big thing. We need to eat to live. It's not paying rent, but it is money that you didn't pay on lunch that can go to rent. So Drew Carey, thank you very much for that. And in addition to the hardships faced by the writers during the strike, we've got another good bit of news. The WGA extends healthcare benefits through year's end for writers facing October 1st cutoff. Because of the way that the healthcare is structured for the WGA, I think it's you have to make a certain threshold over a certain period to qualify for the healthcare. And a lot of the writers, because of the extent of the strike lasted like almost half a year, they weren't making it. Now, this is part of the larger deal that was struck with AMPTP, so this will be in the larger thing. But this is such a cool thing that I felt it deserved its own attention. The WGA West will extend healthcare benefits through year's end to members who are facing an October 1st expiration of coverage because of strike. Extension was worked out as part of the tentative contract agreement reached Sunday with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, which will bring an end to the nearly 5-month strike. News about the healthcare coverage extension was communicated to members via messages from the Guild on Monday. The news was shared in a message to members sent by Lice Anderson, WGA West Assistant Executive Director. Per the tentative agreement, WGA writers who are scheduled to lose PWJ healthcare coverage on October 1st will be extended coverage for an additional quarter through December 31st. Same extension applies to writers who will exhaust their COBRA eligibility. This is great, and I think this is one of the things that wasn't even in the original ask, but because the strike went on so long, the AMPTP was good enough to agree to this provision. That really helps people out. Now, in an ideal society, we would have single-payer healthcare, and we wouldn't need to tie your healthcare to your employment. But until that day happens, until we get Bernie Sanders too in the White House, it's good to see that the writers who were on strike are not losing their healthcare. And as for the other strike in Hollywood going on, now that the WGA one has been resolved and the writers are back to work, SAG-AFTRA and AMPTP to resume strike negotiations on Monday. They had been kind of going back and forth on this one over the weekend and over the week. I was seeing things where SAG-AFTRA had said, we have not had talks with them to come back to the table. Anything you see saying otherwise is speculation. But then it did just come out. Lead negotiators for SAG-AFTRA and the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers will head back to the table on Monday, October 2nd, after a bitter concurrent strike led by the Writers Guild of America was resolved on Tuesday. SAG-AFTRA and the AMPTP will resume negotiations for a new TV and theatrical contract on Monday, October 2nd. Several executives from AMPTP member companies will be in attendance, I assume that's the usual crowd of David Zaslav and Bob Iger and is it Ted Sarandos, the Netflix? Anyway, those usual people. Oh yeah, it even says it down here. Donna Langley, David Zaslav, and Ted Sarandos, and Bob Iger. Yeah. The AMPTP and SAG-AFTRA have not resumed bargaining in good faith since the union, consisting of roughly 160,000 members, went on strike on July 14th. They haven't come back to the table this entire time. The AMPTP has been starving them out. Collateral damage has been considerable in some cases for the worldwide box office, and certainly in regards to the fall film festival cycle, with star talent prohibited from promoting work made by struck company. Red carpets in Venice, Telluride, and Toronto were ghost towns. A lucky few film and TV projects have been recipients of a SAG-AFTRA interim agreement, which allows productions to keep rolling or permit stars to participate in promotion. Those films include Michael Mann's Ferrari, Sofia Coppola's Priscilla, and forthcoming holiday release, The Iron Claw, starring Zac-Efron and Jeremy Allen White. So, yes, the interim agreement is for studios that were not members of the AMPTP, the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. Those are the big players in Hollywood. Most studios in Hollywood are members of the AMPTP, but for independent studios like A24 and other things like that, if they agreed to everything that SAG-AFTRA was asking of AMPTP, they were allowed to continue filming during the strike, which is great because that means they're getting what they're asking for, and actors get to continue to work and make money. Now, there are also other ways that actors have been able to make money because SAG-AFTRA has a multitude of different contracts. Like Netcode is a contract that specifically deals with like talk shows and reality TV stuff. That's why you saw, even though SAG-AFTRA is still on strike, you have like Dancing with the Stars is I think just premiered, and that has a bunch of SAG-AFTRA members in it. But that's fine because that's under Netcode, which was signed last year, so that contract is in effect for them. They can do that, they can do commercials, but they can't film for scripted television or movies unless the interim agreement happens. While Crabtree, Ireland, and Drescher have been adamant about their desire to come back to the table, the union has also been busy with other strike matters. On Monday, the union voted overwhelmingly to cease work for 10 major video game companies. Yeah, I'm going to go up. We've got an article on that one. We'll go. But yeah, after 5 rounds of bargaining, it has become abundantly clear that the video game companies aren't willing to meaningfully engage on the critical issues: compensation undercut by inflation, unregulated use of AI, and safety. Crabtree, Ireland said of the new battle. And let's go over to that one. From SAG-AFTRA themselves, this is their press release. SAG-AFTRA members approved video game strike authorization vote with 98.32% yes vote. Now, as far as I know, this does not mean that they are on strike against the video game companies yet. This is a strike authorization vote, which means when they come to the table for contract negotiation, they have this as a bargaining chip. Strike authorization votes are not always held. It's usually when there is significant issues that it seems that the companies are not addressing. But when it happens, it's important to get that high of a number because it shows the union is in accord. It shows that they are all united and that the companies who rely on their work should probably listen to them or they're not going to get what they need from them. Yeah, members signal their determination to reach a deal as the union prepares to resume negotiations with authorization in hand. SAG-AFTRA members have voted 98.32% in favor of a strike authorization on the interactive media agreement that covers members' work on video games. 34,687 members cast ballots, representing a voting percentage of 27.4% of eligible voters. So, okay, so that seems a little low, unfortunately. Although I suppose probably the people who didn't vote are, because I think that's the total membership of SAG-AFTRA, and so probably a bunch of them just aren't doing video game work to begin with, so they didn't bother to vote. But of the people who've cast ballots, it's 98.32%. Strike authorization does not mean the union is calling a strike. Yeah, as I explained, SAG-AFTRA has been in interactive media agreement negotiations with signatory video game companies. We got Activision Productions Inc., Blind Light LLC, Disney Character Voices Inc., Electronic Arts Productions Inc., Foremost Interactive, Insomniac, Epic, Take-Two, VoiceWorks, and WB Games since October of 2022. Throughout the negotiations, the companies have refused to offer acceptable terms on some of the issues most critical to our members, including wages that keep up with inflation, protections around exploitative uses of artificial intelligence, and basic safety precautions. The next bargaining session is scheduled for September 26th, 27th, and 28th, and we hope the added leverage of a successful strike authorization vote will compel the companies to make significant movement on critical issues where we are still far apart. Paka says, I'm not familiar with the usual voter turnout for a union vote, so I don't know if that percentage is out of the norm. Yeah, I don't know either. I would be curious what the voter turnout for SAG-AFTRA strike. Well, we've got here, this was SAG-AFTRA's news on the strike authorization for the strike they are currently on. This had 47.69% of eligible voters, so basically double what the other one is. And it may be a thing where it's SAG-AFTRA members who they've got their SAG card, but they haven't actually been actively doing anything in a while. You get your SAG card, I think, if you get a line in a show or something like that. I don't know the exact details on how you get membership, but there's also, dues paying members, and it might be you might be on the roster, but you haven't worked in a while, so you haven't paid your dues, but you're still... I don't know all the details on it. I would like to see a higher turnout, but yeah, there it is. So the current strike got about double the amount of voting members as this one. And again, this is, as far as I can tell, they have not struck yet because they are actually September 28th right here. So we should be just ending that bargaining session, and we might have some new news on that front as soon as tomorrow, or if I missed it, maybe today. Hey, Offline Fesh here with a quick update on that. We've got a press release from SAG-AFTRA that was released on the 28th, which was the last day of their negotiations. It says SAG-AFTRA and Video Game Employers Statement on Interactive Media Agreement. SAG-AFTRA and Video Game Employers concluded scheduled negotiations for the Interactive Media Agreement. No deal was reached, and the current agreement will remain in effect while the parties make final efforts to reach a deal. So these talks over this weekend did not resolve. I don't know if they're going to be continuing next week, and I don't know when a strike action will take place, but this seems to indicate that a strike action is more likely to happen now. Back to your previously recorded Gay Fesh. It's time for the video game companies to stop playing games and get serious about reaching agreement on the contract, said SAG-AFTRA President Fran Drescher. The result of this vote shows our membership understands the existential nature of these negotiations and that the time is now for these companies, which are making billions of dollars and paying their CEOs lavishly, to give our performers an agreement that keeps performing in video games as a viable career. We'll see how that goes. Now, before I get into the WGA contract itself and what that entails, I want to wrap up kind of this section. I wanted to do like the deep dive into the WGA deal as its own segment. But I've got one other thing, and as the strikes seem to be coming to a close, I'm still talking about the entertainment industry. It's kind of my undiagnosed autistic hyperfocus, and I like to go into like subreddits like Marvel Studio spoilers, where people are looking at like production leaks and stuff like that. And I'm also interested, as we're getting to the end of the year, we're going to start up award season. One thing that I was thinking of doing was, once the Oscar nominations are out, I was thinking of watching everything on the list. Anything that has been nominated that I haven't already seen and reviewed on this channel, I want to go through and basically give my Oscar picks. And I think it's a good opportunity to look at stuff. Again, a lot of stuff that gets nominated at the Oscars is explicitly Oscar bait, so there's going to be some of that, but I still think there's value in that. And I also think there's value in appreciating the underappreciated categories. Not a lot of people really care so much about like who wins best makeup, but a couple years ago, Star Trek Beyond was up for best makeup and lost to Suicide Squad. Now, Star Trek has fantastical alien designs, and Suicide Squad had Margot Robbie in slightly paler makeup and smeared eyeliner. So I was a little pissed off at that. And I remember posting on Facebook about that at the time, and people are like, "What do you care about the Oscars? It's such a bourgeois thing." And I'm just like, do you think the makeup artists are the ones making millions of dollars in Hollywood? No. The person who wins the Oscar for the best makeup, they're going home in a Honda Accord. Okay? They're working class people. And so I kind of want to appreciate those. I want to appreciate the behind the scenes stuff. obviously, most of the actors that you see that are gonna get the big Oscar nods, those are like the 1% of the actors already. They're already making the big bucks. Supporting actors usually is where you're gonna see some of the more underappreciated actors, some of the lower paid ones. I think the guy who won or was nominated for Best Supporting Actor for Captain Phillips was like almost homeless when he showed up at the Oscars. But that's not the usual case there. But anyway, speaking of the awards themselves, this isn't the Oscars, but Golden Globes adds 2 new categories: blockbuster movies and stand-up comics enter the race. Now, Golden Globes is a more general, like, it covers both TV and movies and stuff like that. And the Golden Globes awards have tended to be, like, you know, a little bit more irreverent. Like, I'm pretty sure they've had Ricky Gervais host it, like, a billion times. And then, like, Tina Fey and Amy Poehler have hosted it the other billion times. It feels like they just kind of trade off there. But the Golden Globes kind of kicks off the awards ceremony because it's in January. And it feels like throwing in a category for blockbuster movies is purely an attempt to get more viewership. So I'm kind of two minds of it. I think there is certainly a self-congratulatory aspect to the awards, and I think there's a political nature to all these awards, but I also think there is merit in respecting good craft. But just making money, getting an award for making money, that doesn't seem like... So yeah. The first new prize is the Golden Globe for Cinematic and Box Office Achievement. Eligible nominees will be among the year's highest earning or most seen feature films that also deliver creative excellence. Titles must have grossed at least $150 million during release, $100 million of which must have come from domestic box office. Streaming films with commensurate viewership will be considered based on data from recognized industry sources, the Globe said. 8 films will be eligible for that prize and can also compete for categories like Best Motion Picture, Drama, or Comedy as long as they meet criteria for those fields. Valhalla Video said, wasn't the last Golden Globe the lowest viewing figures of all time? Probably. Like, who watches it? That sounds like giving Elon Musk a $1 billion award for being the richest man of all time, right? I don't think that this is the route we should be going in Hollywood. I do think that having the Oscars expand the Best Picture category from 5 nominees to 10 so that they can throw in the big blockbuster stuff that was really good that people like, at least as bait to get them to watch and hope that that wins, I think that's fine. But giving it its own category, and I know this isn't the Oscars, I know this is the Golden Globes, but I'm just speaking just about the awards themselves in general. This seems silly. Hey, thanks for watching. I'm trying to get my channel monetized, so your view means a lot. Don't forget to toss me a like and subscribe and ring the bell. I stream every Monday and Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific, so catch me live and join in on the convo. You can find all my socials in the description below, and thank you to all my patrons with a very special shout out to my Whale Shark tier patron Ryan D and my Anemone friend tier patron Piftle Cakes. Your support means the world. Catch you next time.